started training in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu before the UFC even began. At the time, there was nowhere to train Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because it was barely known, and all we had were some instructional videotapes. Well, Ronin is a samurai without a master. I get the name BJJ Ronin because I'm one of the only people in the world to get a second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu without an instructor. Currently, I'm 34. I'm married with 3 kids. My oldest is 6 years old. I have been training martial arts since I was 5 years old. I started training because my father was a martial arts instructor and he would train people out of our home. As a kid, I received 2 black belts in Tang Soo Do and later earned 2 black belts in the style my father created, known as self-defense tactics. Self-defense tactics was a hardcore, no-holds-barred self-defense system that incorporated everything you need to know in order to truly defend yourself in real-life situations. We had some very realistic and sometimes brutal fights go down in almost every training session. Self-defense tactics included techniques from karate, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, sambo, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was literally mixed martial arts for self-defense before MMA was even a thing. Neither my father or I had any real Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training. We learned from videos. After Royce became famous from the UFC, we eventually started going to Royce Gracie seminars in Atlantic City and then some Hickson seminars. Once my father stopped training and teaching, I didn't have an instructor of any kind. I became a student of Jiu-Jitsu itself. If you look at masters like Bruce Lee or Helio Gracie, this is how they excelled in their martial arts. Eventually, they were students of martial arts more than they were of men. They explored, tested, and made it their own. I think anyone who calls themselves a martial artist should do the same. Don't get me wrong. If you're looking to train in martial arts, you should go find a good school with a good team and train there. You should respect and honor your instructor and fellow teammates. Martial arts is both about community and personal development. I simply came to a point in my training where I didn't have anyone to teach me Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's why I trained on my own. I am in no way saying that if you're currently training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or any other martial arts, that you should stop training at your academy and go train on your own. I believe that you should train in a good school that can teach you and guide you, while at the same time using all the resources available to train outside of your school. I thought about Jiu-Jitsu day and night. I had so many techniques that I wanted to try and to perfect. My Jiu-Jitsu was constantly being battle tested and proven within the school, but eventually I had to go out and compete to see where it really was. That's really why I began to compete, to test myself. In 2003, the same year the Clinch Academy was founded, I won Naga's Battle at the Beach Advanced Division, submitting all of my opponents. In 2004, I won the Pro Division, submitting all my opponents but the last one, whom I beat by decision. Also in 2004, one of my students, Erin Comstock, was ranked #1 in the female grappling circuit. Aaron was my first black belt in what we call clinch combat jiu-jitsu. Clinch combat jiu-jitsu was still an art that had a strong mix of grappling and striking for the use of self-defense. In 2005, I was flown to Fort Lauderdale, Florida to compete in a super fight against Pablo Popovich. Pablo is recognized as one of the best grapplers in the entire world. I competed with Pablo in a 10-minute match, which I lost by decision. My match with Pablo was for me a proving ground because I didn't have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. I wanted to be able to show everyone that I competed at a high level, even though I didn't have anyone to teach me. I knew all my students trusted in me, they trusted in my instruction, and I had to bring it out. I had to prove it to the community that I knew what I was doing, that I was legit. Very soon after my match with Pablo, I married my wife, Katie. 3 months after we got married, she was pregnant with our first child. During this time, my desire to compete began to fade as I was more focused on being able to provide for my family. In this phase of life, I began getting more students who were interested in competing in MMA. The style my father taught and the way I had practiced most of my jiu-jitsu at this time was still very well formatted for MMA. My MMA fighters began tearing up the local scene. I had 3 champions in Valley Fight League. One of my students, Jacob Kerwin, became Lou Neglia's Ring of Combat featherweight champion and went on to fight in Bellator. Jacob was also known for submitting black belts in the no-gi grappling circuit when he was a purple belt. Joey Kerwin has fought in Bellator and has competed against top fighters such as Ultimate Fighter Chris McRae. Another student, Cole Presley, also had the opportunity to fight in Bellator but had to pull out due to an injury. Cole has won some great matches and Shogun fights, and I expect to see big things from Cole in the future. Joey Hughes entered his first grappling tournament ever, and as a blue belt, he became the Grappler's Quest U.S. National Super Heavyweight Advanced Division Champion. So although fighting and competing isn't our sole emphasis at the Clinch Academy, we have still produced some remarkable fighters and competitors. Even though I personally felt and knew where my level was in Jiu-Jitsu, other people still doubted me. I never claimed to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I never claimed to teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at that time. But yes, people were still doubting me and they questioned what I taught at my school. What I was teaching was called freestyle Jiu-Jitsu. I never claimed to teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. All my students knew my story, but eventually, just hearing people talk and for the sake of my students, I was urged to take action. Through the years, I also came to know Master Leo Dalla. So one day I approached Master Dalla about testing for a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he helped me come up with a plan. He told me that he believed I was at the black belt level and that he didn't want to give me a black belt personally because he said it wouldn't be fair for him to get the credit for my black belt. He said I had earned it on my own and I should get the credit for it. Since he knew me for 6 years at this point, he said he would help me get certified as a second-degree black belt with the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and this would allow for me to get recognized for my accomplishments in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So with Master Dalla's help and validation, I met the requirements to be certified as a second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. I'm very thankful for meeting Master Dalla and for being able to train with his team. Not many instructors would have helped me in the way that he did. I love all martial arts. I will always have that striker's mentality since I started out as a striker. I still like to get out there and train and teach kickboxing, and I even like to get out there and bang a little bit. But there's something special about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that really allows for you to evaluate and challenge yourself as a person. The idea of using minimum effort to create maximum force is a captivating challenge on and off the mat. Every moment counts in Jiu-Jitsu. Any move you make can make the difference between victory or defeat. I like to think of Jiu-Jitsu as being in a car hanging over a cliff. You are always teetering, and one bad move will put you over the edge. You can't overreact, but need to keep calm and collect. As Judo founder Higoro Gano put it, we must learn to consider fully and act decisively. There are seemingly infinite techniques in Jiu-Jitsu and always a new problem to solve. It never seems to get boring, but only more interesting as you learn more. Jiu-Jitsu provides character development, great health, and fitness benefits, as well as an excellent application of techniques for both sport and self-defense. I feel both of these elements of martial arts are very temporary. Hopefully, I will never have to truly defend myself. I feel prepared in case I do, but in the end, my fate is in God's hands. Competition has never been my driving force in martial arts. I like to compete, but for me, competition is more about testing myself than it is about being the best in the world. I believe that with our track record, we do have what it takes and know what needs to be done in order to produce champions. For me personally, Jiu-Jitsu is now more of a tool to evaluate myself. I believe God uses Jiu-Jitsu in my life as one way to help transform my character. I'm extremely thankful for what the Lord has given me. Exodus 15:3 says, "The Lord is a warrior. The Lord is his name." Of course, he is much more than a warrior, but it's still part of his image. And in my life, I relate and share on this image with him.